In this series, we will be creating a game engine from start to finish in C# using OpenTK. OpenTK is a C# library that provides access to OpenGL, OpenAL, and OpenCL. We will only be using OpenGL in this series. OpenGL is a free, open-source graphics library used to interact with your graphics card. In this video, we will be setting up our project and creating a window. So let's get started. Before we can begin coding, we will need to set up our project in OpenTK. So let's create a new project. I'm using a Visual Studio Community 2015. It is free. You just go to visualstudio.com, and here it is. You can go download Community 2015. It's that simple. Okay, so we can press New Project, and it's going to initialize our templates. Okay, so we're going to be creating a new Visual C# project, console application. And you're going to just name this whatever you want. I'm going to name this 2D Game Engine. And I'm going to browse and put it into my preferred folder. Tutorials, select folder. Okay. So it's going to create the project, and it'll create a program.c# file right here. This is the entry point. Let's just change the namespace real quick. And you can do that by going to Properties, by right-clicking your project, Properties, and then changing the default namespace. Right? 2D Game Engine. So the namespace would just be, let's think of a cool name. We'll just do Glom Engine. Alright, Glom Engine 2D. Okay, and then I'll name this to Glom Engine 2D. We're good. So now, if we rename the project to Glom Engine 2D, it's all good. It's just that simple, and now, okay. So I just named my Glom Engine 2D, right? So if I ever want to make a 3D tutorial, it's good like that. So we'll delete program. Actually, we won't, not yet. So before we can begin actually doing anything with OpenGL, we need to get the proper libraries, which is OpenTK. So we can there are two ways to do this. We can go to the Git repository, download it, and then reference the libraries like that. Or we can use NuGet, which is this package manager for Visual Studio and other IDEs. So if you go to the NuGet site and you look at packages, it's on NuGet, OpenTK, and we can just copy that. There's another alternative. We can go like this, right? We can copy that command, or we can go to Tools, Package Manager for solution, and you can go Browse. Right, and we can find OpenTK. Okay, so I'm not going to find it there. So you can go Package Manager. So you go Tools, NuGet Package Manager, Package Manager Console, and then we will type in the command once it initializes. Install package OpenTK. And if you have multiple projects in your solution, you just select the project and you press install package, and it's going to install it and automatically reference it. So if we go to references, OpenTK, so it's there. We can press hide. We can hide that. So now we have OpenTK. We need to create an entry point for this project. So let's just see if it builds correctly now. And if it does, then that means we've set up OpenTK correctly. It's gonna build everything. Alright, so everything works, it's building. there's no issues with the library. So now we can press add, or we can right click on our project, add, new item. We want to add a new class. So just select class. And it's so simple. So let's call this game.cs. This would be our game class. Right? And we'll make this a public class. And what we're gonna do is it's very simple. We're gonna copy our main function from program into game. Okay? Actually, we won't. No, let's not do that. Okay, yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna inherit. Actually, let's use our libraries first. So let's we created our new game class. We're gonna type in using OpenTK. Okay, that's all we're gonna need to use for now. And we're gonna inherit from game window. So over here, public class game, we're gonna do a colon and then game window. The colon means you inherit. I'm guessing you guys know that because this is not a beginner C# tutorial. Okay, so over here, let's make a constructor. So public game, and we're gonna take in an int width and an int height and a string title. Okay, and we did the width, height, and title. And now all we have to do is we have to say base, right? We want to call our base constructor. We want to pass in width, height. So we want to graphics mode. So let's do using OpenTK.graphics. Okay. And then we can go graphics mode dot default. And then let's pass in our title. Game window flags.default. Actually, we don't need to do any of that, I'm pretty sure. There are some so there's overload constructors, so we only need to pass this stuff in, which is very useful. So now that we have that, we don't need to do anything else in our constructor except call run. Run enters the game loop of the game window using the maximum update rate. Okay, it's that simple. Another thing we need to do in our game class is do some public virtual methods, right? But we're not gonna. Actually, we will do that this video. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do public. So we're gonna override from a few different things. We're gonna override from not public. We're gonna type in override. We're gonna override update on update frame. We're gonna do override render. We're gonna override render. We're also gonna override initialize. Override initialize. Where's the new initialize? Start, was it? On closing, on load. So on load, we're also going to do closing. So protected, no override, load, or close. Yeah, so unclosed. So this is what we need. We're also gonna, below here, we're gonna do virtual methods, and we're gonna do public, or no, we're gonna do protected, virtual, void, update, initialize. Yes, so initialize. That's the first one we're gonna do. Second one we're gonna do protected, virtual, void, update. We're just doing all these, so the game class we inherit from can just override with these. So update, render, and then protected, virtual, void, shut down, or close. Okay, and forgot to make this into a void. So, okay, we're good. Oh, okay, so yeah, we'll call it shutdown. Now, simply, remove these base calls. So remove the base dot whatever, and call the corresponding method. So for close, we would do shutdown. We'd call shutdown. Oh, one sec, guys. For render, we'd call render. Okay, we got that done. For update, we'd call update. One sec. Okay, so for update, we'd call update. And for load, we'd call initialize. It's that easy. Okay, so if you don't want to take up as much space, you can just do it like that, so it doesn't take up that much space. But it's that simple. Now, the last thing we have to do is actually inherit from this game class. Okay, so right now what's happening is, actually, let's just set the game class to an abstract class, so you can never instantiate the game class alone. What's happening now is, you can never instantiate the game class, right? We have to always inherit it from it. So let's make a new class. Actually, I pressed build accidentally. Anyways, let's make a new class, and let's call this class test.cs. Let's rename that. Let's call it test game. Test game. Right? That would make more sense. Test game. We'll make that a public class, and we'll inherit from game. Right, and then all we have to do is, right now it's giving us an error. There's no argument given that corresponds to the required formal parameter width of game.game int string. So what we have to do is make a constructor. Make a public test game. Right? And what we can do is we can either just call the base constructor and pass in hard-coded values, or we can make a constructor for this. So we'll make a constructor, we'll call it int width, int height, string title, and we'll call base width height title, just like we did with this other one. Okay, and that's it. So that's just override. So we'll call override update, initialize, protected, override update, override render, and override shutdown. So you can see that we can actually override from on to on render frame, right? And the reason for that is because this inherits from game window. So technically, we could just override from on update frame and stuff. But if we want to make an abstraction there or something like that, like if we don't want to directly inherit from game, we just have to pass in something like, I don't know, whatever, and then it'll handle everything. Like later on, when we have multiple functions handling the game loop, we might not inherit from game window directly. So that's why we're doing this, just so later we don't have to do a lot of refactoring. So we can just remove these base. Actually, we'll keep them for now, just whatever, it doesn't hurt. Okay, so we're good. Now, the last thing we have to do is in program, we have to say using OpenTK. Yeah, that's a good one. And then in our main function in program, we have to say using toolkit.init. Okay, and then simply inside here, all we have to do is call new test game and pass in whatever. So let's do 800 by 600, and we'll call this 2D game engine. Okay, and this will handle everything. Okay, now another thing we want to do is in our test game, not in our game, on closed, we just want to call dispose, right? So after we call shutdown, let's just call dispose. this will basically just dispose the GL context and everything else. So dispose the game window, releasing all resources consumed by it. So we can build now. Build successful. And there's a screen. Now the only thing is, it's white. And the reason for this is because rendering isn't necessarily working just yet. And you can see that if we're trying to stretch it out, kind of gives us this, because we're not updating the viewport yet. But we do have a window, so window's working, everything's working. Window, right there. Okay. Right, so that's our window. It's relatively nice, and we can change the size. So if we're going to our program, and we go maybe 1200 by 900, right? It's good. So it's relatively nice, and we have a window. Alright guys, next episode we will take a look at input. So next episode we'll be creating our input class, basically creating a class that will handle all our inputs so we don't have to do it in every class that wants input. It's just a convenience method overall. If you guys enjoy my content, then don't hesitate to subscribe, and if you'd like to support me, then check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description, and thanks for watching.